Hello, I am KHM, and I haven't really done anything with my YouTube channel in the last month, for which I do apologize. But during this time, I have been kind of obsessed with Skyrim, and I have been slowly piecing together some of the backstory while I play it. Now, to help make up for my lack of activity, I'd like to present my theory that I have come up with. I call it the Stormcloak conspiracy. Now we have all at one point or another tried to decide which side to fight for, the Imperials or the Stormcloaks. Generally, most people just take a quick look at what each group does and how they act to try to make their decision. A quick look at the Stormcloaks and one quickly learns that they are rebelling because their god Talos has been outlawed. But they are also taking the opportunity to push their racist agenda. While the Imperials are fighting to retain control of the land and its resources and stop Talos from being worshipped. Now, just going off that, the Imperials seem like the lesser of two evils, until you take into consideration that they tried to execute you without a trial at the beginning of the game. In light of which, I have until now flipped both groups off and joined neither side. However, there is a third group, and while you don't ever see major consequences of helping them within the game, the results of such aid can still be predicted. This third group is the Thalmor, a group of elves that make up the current ruling body of Morrowind, and they want to destroy the Empire and either enslave or exterminate all humans. The Thalmor, while they seem like idiots, are in fact an extremely scary group that should not be taken lightly, and by the end of this video you'll know why. Now, let's go back 30 years before the events of Skyrim take place. There is a war going on between the Empire and the Thalmor. The Thalmor are winning, probably not by much, but enough to try and win now, or dictate a few seemingly harmless terms in a peace treaty to help them win later, the latter of which they chose. The result is the White-Gold Concordat, and while we can't actually read what it says, we can make some guesses. Now, the first thing that we know about it is that it forces the Empire to outlaw the worship of Talos within it. We know this because it's cited by everyone as the reason for the Stormcloak uprising. This seems like a mostly harmless addition and easily ignored, or at least I thought it was, and just dismissed it as not being very significant. But it's actually a brilliant move on the part of the Thalmor. If you listen to someone explain the reasoning behind this law, it sounds very logical and is often a good enough reason to make people stop looking any further, which makes it the perfect lie to cover up the truth.
It's a religious matter. The Thalmor do not recognize Talos as a god. He was only a man, and does not deserve a place in our pantheon. The Empire has agreed to accept our beliefs, and its citizens have a responsibility to cease their heretical worship.
The truth being that if you have a large group of religious people, it's very easy to predict how they will react if you suddenly make it illegal to worship their god. They would generally get upset and start thinking things like, gee, wouldn't it be better for all if someone else was in charge? Now, most of these Talos worshippers are in Skyrim, a region very close to Morrowind, and a brisk jog down almost any path, and you'll quickly see that the place is rich in resources. If the Thalmor could get the people there to rise up against the Empire, they could cut the Empire off from the resources, the people, and the weapons there, severely hurting the Empire's ability to recover from the war. However, just outlawing the worship of Talos alone is probably not enough by itself. The Empire would just simply arrest the more outspoken first and work their way through the ranks. If done right, there wouldn't be an uprising for maybe 100 years, if there was one at all. By this time, the Empire would have recovered enough from the war to be able to handle both the Thalmor and an uprising, which means that something more needed to be done to help push the people of Skyrim in the right direction. Which brings us to something odd that I'm sure we have all noticed and wondered about, which is that we only ever see the Thalmor arresting worshippers of Talos, and never the Empire. It's very odd since this is the territory of the Empire and not of the Thalmor, so the responsibility should belong to the Empire. The only reason I can think of is that in the peace treaty, The responsibility is given exclusively to the Thalmor to make such arrests. These are extremely dangerous waters to be treading, as it allows the Thalmor to pick and choose who can and cannot worship Talos within the Empire. What this means is that the Thalmor can allow the more vocal people, and even send in their own agents to help stir up the people into rebellion against the Empire. You remember that preacher from Whiterun? Ever wonder how he's able to preach about Talos day after day with absolutely no consequences? Well, let's listen to what he's actually saying.
Divide! Trust in me, Whiterun. Trust in Heimskir. For I am the chosen of Talos. I alone have been anointed by the Ninth to spread his holy word. Terrible and powerful Talos, we, your unworthy servants, give praise, for only through your grace and benevolence may we truly reach enlightenment. And deserve our praise you do, for we are one. Ere you ascended, and the 8 became 9, you walked among us, great Talos, not as God, but as man. But you were once man, aye, and as man you said, let me show you the power of Talos Stormcloak, born of the north, where my bread is long winter. I breathe now in royalty and reshape this land which is mine. I do this for you, Red Legions, for I love you. I love, even as man, great Talos cherished us, for he saw in us, in each of us, the future of Skyrim, the future of Tamriel. And there it is, friends, the ugly truth. We are the children of man. Talos is the true God of man, ascended from flesh to rule the realm of spirit. The very idea is inconceivable to our elven overlords, sharing the heavens with us. With man? Ha! They can barely tolerate our presence on Earth. Today, they take away your faith. But what of tomorrow? What then? Do the elves take your homes? Your businesses? Your children? Your very lives? And what does the Empire do? Nothing! Nay, worse than nothing! The Imperial machine enforces the will of the Thalmor against its own people! So rise up, children of the Empire! Rise up, Stormcloaks! Embrace the word of mighty Talos! He who is both man and divine. For we are the children of man, and we shall inherit both heavens and earth. And we, not the elves or their toadies, will rule Skyrim forever!
That's right. He's stirring up the anger at the loss of their religion and the fear the people have for the Thalmor, and directing them both squarely at the Empire. He's able to do this day after day without fear of being arrested because he is a Thalmor agent. Now you have a large group of pissed off people with their heads full of Thalmor propaganda, and while this is enough for an uprising, it is not enough for it to be successful. For that, you need the perfect puppet leader to guide them. Enter Ulfric Stormcloak. According to this document found at the Thalmor embassy, before Ulfric led the rebellion, he was captured by the Thalmor, who then brainwashed him. They planted ideas into his head, but in such a way that he thinks they are his own ideas. So Ulfric Stormcloak, without himself knowing it, is in fact a Thalmor agent. However, a group that's just starting a rebellion might have issues getting the needed weapons, resources, and places of strategic advantage to help them. The same document states that the Thalmor have secretly been helping the Stormcloaks with deliveries of supplies and conducting covert operations on their behalf. The next thing I want to look at is the racism of the Stormcloaks. The racism feels relatively recent and strangely tacked onto the war. It's clearly not an official reason why they are fighting, but it's allowed to exist unchecked. Why is it there at all, let alone allowed to flourish? Well, it's clearly a misdirected anger and fear that the people have of the Thalmor, but look at who it's being directed at. The targets of this misdirected fear and anger are mostly the elves, people who would be given privilege under Thalmor rule. This means that after the Stormcloaks win, and it's time for the Thalmor to make their move and take Skyrim, they would have been given an amazing spy network, the likes of which has rarely been seen before, completely free of charge, making the taking of Skyrim a cakewalk. So this brings us to the last bit. What went wrong with their plans? How did the Stormcloaks suddenly become evenly matched with the Empire after taking half the map in such very little time? Well, Ulfric was captured, but his death wouldn't actually have been a very big loss to the Thalmor. They probably have half a dozen other candidates that could easily replace him, and they could even turn him into a martyr to help rally the people. Which is why, at his execution, they were just going to stand by and watch. First-hand accounts help make really good propaganda. No, what went wrong were the dragons. What was the first thing Alduin did when he returned? He saved the Dragonborn, and more importantly to the Thalmor, he saved Ulfric's Stormcloak. To them, this means that some powerful, unknown entity or group wants the Stormcloaks to win their war. This sent the Thalmor into a panic and caused them to temporarily pull all their support and suspend all operations helping the Stormcloaks until they can figure out who is behind the dragon attacks, leaving the Stormcloaks unable to progress any further in their war. In conclusion, the state of both the Empire and Skyrim when you start the game is the result of the actions of the Thalmor, who also secretly been controlling the Stormcloaks, and that this conspiracy has only been stopped by the miracle chance of an apocalyptic event. Which brings us to the next question. Did Feldir intentionally send Alduin to this age to prevent the Thalmor takeover? But that is a question for another video. So once again, I am KHM, and thank you for watching. And again, this is just my theory. I may have gotten something wrong. If I have, please feel free to leave a comment explaining how I was wrong. Excuse me, can you tell me how to get to Solitude? I'd like to sign up with the Legion, and... I can see that you're busy. I'll ask someone else.